And so this emphasis on the motivation rather than the appearance, rather than what other people say, is not the usual way things are done in society. Usually it's you try and look good. Looking good is the goal, not being a good person. Okay, and we can see this everywhere we look, in society now, and that is what allows for so much corruption. Yeah, is that we're focused on looking good, presenting that a certain image. Yeah, but what's really going on inside of us, we don't let other people know, and often, very often, we're not even in touch with it ourselves, what our real motivation is. Yeah, and sometimes it's only years later when we reflect back on something we did that we really see what our motivation was. Okay, so let me just give you an example. I use this example a lot because it happens a lot. Okay, so let's say there is a charity organization and they're building a health clinic in a poor neighborhood, okay, for the benefit of the people who live in that neighborhood who don't have access to good health care that they can pay for, okay? So they're raising money, gathering donations to make the clinic. So there's some guy who's a big businessman, tons of money, and he gives, $200,000 for it. And everybody goes, wow, he's so generous, he's so kind. Yeah, this is fantastic. We love this person. Yeah, his motivation, was, when I give a big donation, everybody will know what a successful business person I am. Yeah, everybody will praise me, and when they set up the clinic, you know how very often in different public places they'll have a plaque with the names of the big donors. Yeah, so he's thinking then my name and my family name will be on that plaque in the entryway of the clinic. Yeah, and that's good. Yeah. Okay, then there's a second person who hears about what the clinic is going to do and thinks, wow, this is so good. All these people who don't have access to health care can finally have access to it. And I hope they all recover. I hope they all live happily. I'm just totally delighted to support something that is going to ease the lives of so many people and make families be able to continue, to exist without, going broke because of health care or splintering because of health care. And so, but this person isn't rich, so they give $20, okay? But I just told you what their motivation was, okay? So who's the person society says is so rich and so kind and so generous? The first person who gave, 200,000 okay? Does anybody notice the person who gave 20K? Sorry, $20? No, nobody notices that. But who's the generous person? Hmm?
The second one.
The second one. Why?
Because they had a right motivation for it.
Yeah, the motivation. Did the first one have a good motivation? Now, was he at all generous? No. I mean, what he did was good, in this, yeah. But was he generous? No, he was thinking completely about his own reputation and being praised and being a big shot in the community. Okay, so what we're seeing in this example is, that what people say about you isn't who you are, and is not too difficult to fool people. I mean, look what's going on in the country right now. With the former president. I did nothing wrong. Yeah, and a lot of people believe him. So, it's easy to act in some ways. Yesterday we talked about trying to be what we think other people think we should be. So, if you want a good reputation, that's what you're doing. You're trying to be what you think other people think you should be. And so they're successful in a public sphere. They get praised, in terms of the karma they create, the kind of imprint left on their mind from that action. It's not one of generosity because the motivation wasn't there. So it doesn't matter how the action looked. The motivation was crummy. Yeah. The guy who gave $20, who people don't notice, because a lot of people give $20. They don't have 200K to just, go like this with. But that's the person who really had the good motivation, who wanted people to recover from their illness and be healthy, and gave what they had from that place in their own heart. Okay, so in Buddha's practice, what we're doing a lot is looking at that motivation. What makes us tick? What is it that we are really looking for? Why are we really doing different things? Okay, and since often in our lives, we kind of run on automatic, and we don't stop and say, why am I doing this? We just, the thought comes in the mind of, oh, this will bring me some happiness. Yes, let's do it. Or this will bring me some suffering. So yes, let's, do something to stop that. And there's nothing wrong with, being happy. There's nothing wrong with avoiding suffering. I mean, that's what we all want. But it's, how we do it and what our motivation is. And do we harm others, in order to get our own happiness? And do we harm ourselves by having a really corrupt motivation? Yeah, because when we have that kind of motivation, that's the kind of karmic seed that we're leaving in our mind stream. Okay, so what you wind up with is, in history books, somebody might be very famous and everybody writes about them and declares this and that and the other thing. But in terms of the karma they created, which is the cause for what they're going to experience in their future lives, not so good. Not so good, yeah. Because very often, in order to be famous in the world, it involves harming others and cheating and lying and so forth. Okay, I did pilgrimage one time. This was in the 90s, in China, and I have 2 Chinese friends who are residents of Shanghai, and I traveled with them. And so at one point we were in a little tea shop somewhere, I don't know where, and at that time they had pictures of like the Gang of Four and different communist heroes pasted on the walls, you know, in many places we went. And I remember sitting there with my friends who were also Buddhists and looking at this picture of the Gang of Four, yeah, which was, you know, they were kind of a ruling gang in China, maybe 80s, 90s, you know, a while ago. And, you know, a lot of people got hurt in the process in the country. And my friends were commenting, oh, these people are very famous, but they're probably all in the hell realm now. Yeah? So what we're looking at here is like, what is really important in our life? Yeah? Looking good or having a kind heart? Looking good or being an ethical person? Yeah? Because at the time we die, you know, you can look as good as you want, but it doesn't have any bearing upon, you know, your future rebirth or your, or how well you're progressing on the path to liberation and awakening. Yeah, you don't get to liberation and awakening by people voting for you because you deceive them into thinking that you're wonderful. You know, that it's not like that. So this really, I know, personally appealed to me when I first came in contact with the Dharma, because you can't be a hypocrite in spiritual practice. Being a hypocrite only harms yourself. Yeah, it doesn't matter what other people say and how you look and what they write about you in the history book. Yeah, because anyway, in the history book, you know, who really cares? I mean, you learn a lot from reading history. I got my degree in that, so one more piece of paper. But you know, it doesn't. You read about famous people in history, but that doesn't do anything for them. Yeah. Whereas, you know, there's a lot of what they call unsung heroes, people who are who really act with ethical conduct, who benefit themselves and benefit others. Okay. So that's why in Buddhist practice, we always try and take time at the beginning of the day, at the beginning of our meditation, any meditation, at the beginning of anything we do, to cultivate our motivation and really come back and root ourselves in, you know, why am I doing what we're doing? Yeah, because we may start out an activity with a very unclear, murky motivation or a very self-centered one. But if we notice it, if we can change that motivation, if the action is still something good to do, you go ahead and do the action. But sometimes if you see your motivation is rotten and the action itself is rotten, yeah, then you just stop yourself and you don't go ahead with it. Yeah, no matter what other people are saying. Okay. So, yeah, so this is something quite important in our spiritual practice. Yeah, so we'll have a few minutes of silence. We'll generate our motivation, okay, and then we'll go into the topic. I heard that somebody wanted me to talk about acceptance. Yeah? Okay, so I'll talk about acceptance. There's different kinds of acceptance, okay? And yeah, to figure out, you know, what kind of acceptance we're going to have. Okay, so let's start out with some watching our breath. So just let the flow of your breath be whatever it is. It may change as you do the meditation, but just kind of let it be. Don't judge it. You cannot breathe wrong. Just breathe. And be aware of the sensations in your body as you inhale and exhale. And be aware of how your breath keeps you alive and how it connects you to the rest of the universe. We're all breathing the same air, and we're breathing the oxygen that the plants and trees have given off. So we're connected to our environment and to all the beings in it. So let's cultivate our motivation. So begin by thinking how fortunate we are to have a rebirth where we can learn and think about things. We're not born like an animal who cannot understand if we try and explain ethical conduct or how to generate a kind heart or anything like that. We have the mental capacity to learn, to understand, to transform our mind, and how fortunate we are. And we're also fortunate to have encountered the Buddha's teachings, many of which are just basic common sense and show a method to develop our good qualities and to purify and help us subdue and eventually get rid of the mental afflictions such as ignorance, anger, and attachment. So many people have spiritual yearning, but they can't find a system of practice that fits them, that makes sense to them. So right now you're learning and you're trying one out to see how it is for you. So again, very fortunate. We live in a world surrounded by other living beings, all of whom want happiness. Nobody wants misery. And we depend on all the other living beings around us for everything we have, everything we know. We don't exist as isolated units, but we're dependent on others just to stay alive, not to mention to developing our talents and our knowledge and so forth. So seeing how we live in dependence on other living beings who have also been very kind to us, then let's cultivate a motivation that wants to do something for them, to give something back, or to give something forward, but to do something that will be of benefit to others in the long term. So learning, developing the path in our own minds, that's one way to start to do that. But let's have the motivation, the long-term motivation, to really develop all of our talents and abilities, and then to use them for the benefit of society, for the benefit of other living beings. And so with that kind of motivation, then we'll listen and share today and try and keep coming back to that motivation as you go through the day. So I'll be talking more and more about motivation because it's a very, very big part of the path. Yeah, why we do what we do. And I've been talking about karma, which I haven't explained yet. So I'm thinking before acceptance, maybe I should talk a little bit about what I haven't explained, okay? And the same, with rebirth too. So I'll just do something very general, and then you can ask questions, and later, and I can go into more depth to explain things. So, from the Buddhist perspective, somebody once asked the Dalai Lama, and you'll notice I reference him a lot in the teachings. He's one of my teachers. He said, somebody once asked him, did the Buddha have a slogan or a brand? Everybody nowadays has a brand. So what's the Buddha's brand? Of course, Buddha never thought about that. But the Dalai Lama said, if he had a brand, it would be dependent arising. In other words, everything arises and exists dependent upon other things that are not it. Okay, so if we look at the clock, the clock is made of plastic. What else? You guys know what the material is better than me. What is it? Batteries, plastic,
circuits, LED display.
Yeah, LED, something or another, circuit, something. All I know about electricity is how to flip the switch and how to change the light bulb. The rest is beyond me. So I'm so happy there are people who understand electricity in this world. You know, I'm so glad there are people who are better than me. Yeah, I don't understand electricity. I don't understand plumbing. Yeah, there's so many things I don't understand that if I were left on my own, I would probably, I would go back to, what is it, berry gathering, like they did in the ancient times, because I don't know how to fix any of this stuff or how to make it. Yeah. Could any of you, survive on a desert island all alone? Even if you knew about electricity, are you going to find the parts to your electric gadget on a desert island? No, they come from other people, don't they? Yeah. So everything that we make, that we have, it comes from other things. So this too, there's a lot of people involved in creating this clock, and a lot of different parts and wires and circuits, whatever circuits are. I think that somehow electricity goes on round and around. I learned all of this many years ago, but I've forgotten it since. Yeah, but I did remember how to flick the switch and change the light bulb, because that's what I needed. The rest of it, I wasn't useful, because I could call on the help of other people. Yeah. So the clock is made of all these different things that aren't a clock. Isn't that interesting? You look at this and you say, there's a clock. And you're sure there's something here that is a clock. But it's made of all sorts of different parts that are not a clock. And it's only by putting those parts together and us figuring out a function and a purpose for those parts put together that then we have a clock. Yeah. If you look at our bodies too, yeah, you say, oh, this is me. Yeah, what about your body is you? If you could unzip and look inside, do you find yourself? There I am, I'm a liver. No, I'm a pancreas. No, I'm a stomach. No, I'm my brain. Are you your brain? Are you your brain? I was at one of the Mind and Life conferences, one of the early ones. These are dialogues His Holiness has with scientists. And there was a couple of scientists there who were reductionists, everything is material. Yeah. And so, mind, when we talk about mind, we're not talking about intellect, we're talking about our whole experiential part. It includes intellect, it includes our feelings, emotions, cognitions, anything that makes us a living being, And okay, the brain is the material thing. It does its own thing, yeah, and it helps with cognition and so on. but it isn't our mind. So anyway, so we were joking because after one of the sessions with one of the scientists who was a very reductionist, we could only, because he said, the brain is it. Yeah, there's no other thing. There's the brain. And if you talk about mind, it's just because it's some kind of property of the brain, but it all comes back to the brain. So some of the Buddhists afterwards, we were talking, how we were thinking, oh, we could just imagine him with his wife, and who, if she is also reductionist, and he says, I really love you, dear. And she says, wait a minute, I want a galvanic skin response. I want to check your electrodes because I'm not going to know that you love me unless you have a certain amount of these different chemicals floating around. Then I'll believe you. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure who you may love, But, yeah. Can you imagine that? Somebody reducing us to just material stuff? Yeah. So we have this whole conscious aspect of us, and that's the one that generates motivations, that experiences pain and suffering and so on. So the mental continuity, when the body and the mental continuity are together, we call that, for a human being alive, okay? But they're two different things. The mental continuity is not form, it's something clear and formless, but it has the ability to cognize and reflect phenomena. The brain, without the mind, is just material stuff. How many of you have seen a dead body? Okay, some of you haven't, some of you have. Okay, what's the difference between a dead body and a live one? Were they the same when you saw them? No. They were quite different, weren't they? What was the difference?
Yeah. They have like makeup on and stuff sometimes.
They have what?
They have like makeup on, they like powder them up and stuff in some funerals and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my hearing's very bad. Can you speak louder?
Oh, they put like makeup on and they put them in suits for open caskets.
Oh, yeah. They dress you up really nice. Yeah. I was at my friend's mother's funeral, and it was open casket, and she had been very sick. And as people walked by, they said, she hasn't looked this good in a long time. Yeah. So what's the difference? Yeah.
Like when you're alive, there's electrical and chemical reactions happening that allow you to walk and talk and kind of be alive.
Okay, there's different chemical reactions, but are the chemical reactions, your mind? Are they who you are? So the same, those chemical reactions actually could probably be going on still, some of them. Yeah. But what's gone? The mind. Yeah, the whole conscious, cognitive part of the person is no longer there. You have this stuff. Yeah. But this stuff itself, without the consciousness, is not a living being. Okay, so at death, what happens is the physical material has its own continuity, which is the worms have a good lunch, or it gets burned and we add more pollution. Cremation is polluting, or they have all these regulations now, but you have to put the body that in the casket, and the casket in some kind of concrete thing, and then you can bury it. There's all sorts of stuff for cemeteries and all to do that. So, but it eventually decays. Yeah. But at the time of death, the consciousness, the whole cognitive experiential part of us continues, and that's what goes on into the next life. Yeah. And so what we get reborn as depends on the causes we create. Yeah. It's very much a system of cause and effect, just like biology, chemistry, physics, they all have cause and effect, a cause and effect system. So when we talk about karma and its effects, it's another cause and effect system. The thing is, this system has to do with, has an ethical component, an ethical dimension. Yeah. And depending on what our actions are and why we do those actions, then it leaves different energy traces, for lack of a better word. We call them karmic seeds, but they aren't anything material. You can't touch them. That leaves the karmic seeds on the mind stream, and those ripen at the time of death and propel us into another life. And what life they propel us into depends on the causal energy that we created in not just one previous life, but many previous lives. Okay? And so the body stays here and it decays. The consciousness goes on. Yeah? And so this is why what we do with our mind is so important, because we don't take the body with us. Different religious systems have all sorts of philosophies, and some are waiting for Judgment Day when everybody arises from the dead. Your dead body gets alive again, but I haven't figured out how that's going to work because it's probably decayed. So is it going to reconstitute? Or, how's that going to work? And then if you reappear, I remember when it was President Biden's son, Bo, when he died. Was it him? Yeah. Then there people were doing. There was one cartoon I saw where Bo met his little sister because Biden had a child and his first wife, who were killed in a car accident. That they were all up in heaven, and Bo went and joined them. And I was wondering, okay, according to that philosophy, the child was, I don't know, was a toddler when she died. And it's been several decades since she died. So is she a toddler in heaven? Is that who Bo is going to who his sister is? Or has she aged in heaven? So now she's older and she's the same age as her brother who was born on earth. They don't kind of deal with these things. It's just you meet everybody again in heaven. Of course, who goes to heaven? All your friends and your family. Who goes to hell? Everybody you don't like. So everybody thinks like that. And so since there's does that make it happen? The person I think is so wonderful is going to go to heaven, but somebody else can't stand that person and is going to think they go to hell. So which one are they going to? Yeah. Who decides who goes to heaven and hell? Me? Yeah. Well, no, God decides. Well, if God decides, how come people go to hell? Because I thought God was compassionate. Yeah. How is that going to happen? Yeah. Can you pay God off at the pearly gates to go to heaven? Trump will try, I'm sure. Yeah. But, how is that going to work? So, from a Buddhist perspective, when we talk about karma ripening and influencing what we're reborn as and what we experience, none of those things are rewards or punishments. There's no God who is directing the scene, and making things happen. This is from a Buddhist perspective. Many people may believe it. It's a free world. You can believe that. But I'm just presenting another view that, and this is what I had a problem with when I was younger. It's like, God's compassionate, but God created this mess. How does that work? And why did God create? And why did he create a mess? And why are some people going to heaven and some people going to hell if God's compassionate? And, I went to different religious leaders and asked these questions. And any of you do that? Ask these questions? Yeah? Did you get answers that satisfied you? Yeah?
You just have to believe in it.
Yeah.
That's the answer that you always say.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to, just believe. So for some people that works, for some of us, it doesn't work. Okay, so from a Buddhist perspective, if you have a good rebirth, it's not because you got rewarded for being good. And if you have a bad rebirth, it's not because you got punished. Okay, because there's nobody directing the whole thing. If there were somebody directing the whole thing, that's who we should complain to. Yeah, you're not fulfilling your job description. Part of your job description is you're compassionate. Why are you sending people to hell? And then they say, well, because they didn't do what I said. I set up these laws and they didn't follow them. Yeah. Well, I can set up laws too. We all set up our own laws for who's a good person and who's not, isn't it? Yeah, we do that. People who are nice to me are good people. People who are mean to me are bad people. People who are mean to the other people I don't like are good people. Right? Yeah? The people who harm my enemies, they're good. But the people who harm my friends are bad. Yeah, but harm is harm, isn't it? Okay, so the karma we create in our life is very important because we're creating causes for what we will be reborn as and what we will experience. So the good part of this is that means we can do something about our situation. Yeah. It isn't just believe and try and figure out what somebody else's rules are. Yeah. It's think about things. Yeah. and really check what is beneficial and what isn't. Yeah, and do what is beneficial, not just for yourself, but in the long term, for as many people as possible. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that? Yeah. Do you have any questions so far? Yeah.
So obviously there's karma, and then karma is dictated by cause and effects, which is dependent on dependent arising. Well, why does dependent arising have these responses?
Okay. A cause and effect is a form of dependent arising. It's not different from it. And karma the law of karma and its effects is also a form of dependent arising. Okay? What dependent arising means that everything that exists, that it changes and functions, arose from causes. Okay? Can you think of anything that you use that functions that didn't arise from causes? I mean, this world we live on, this planet, arose from causes. Yeah, everything arises from causes. So it's all dependent arising, which means it's all conditioned. Yeah, conditioned means it's affected by other factors. Yeah. So, yeah. So that when we understand how the law of karma works, then we can really direct our mind to create a certain kind of causes because we want certain kind of results. Yeah. Now, it sounds easy. Oh, I'm going to direct my mind to be kind. Yeah. When you think, I'm going to be kind, are you always kind? No. Yeah. What happens? Well, we start out with the idea, I want to be kind. And then another mental factor arises in our mind that says, but what about me? I'm more important than anybody else. I've got to do what will bring me happiness. And, that mental factor is very strong. When it arises, we say, yes. My self-centered thought, I bow down to you. I salute you. I bow down to you. I will do whatever you say. Yeah? But our self-centered thought, it pretends to be our friend, but it actually gets us involved in all sorts of stupidagios. Yeah. It's an Italian word, yeah. It's such a beautiful word because, I mean, it just the sound of it, stupidagio, it gives you the feeling of something being really stupid, yeah? And yet here we are, supposedly intelligent beings, doing all sorts of stupid things because we don't really understand what causes happiness and what causes suffering. Yeah, and we think just looking out for me, I, my, and mine, which is the most important thing in the world, we think that is what's going to bring us happiness. Yeah, and we're taught that, aren't we? Yeah, look out for yourself. If you don't look out for yourself, nobody's going to look out for you. Go get him. Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever noticed that God has a really hard has a hard time? Because when there's a war, everybody says that God is on their side. Have you noticed that? Yeah? So after 9/11, yeah, many of you were fairly young at 9/11, huh? Yeah. Do you remember it well, or not very much? A little bit. Yeah. So 9/11 was a big thing. Yeah. And the people who bombed who drove the airplanes that destroyed the towers and tried to destroy the Pentagon and so on, these people said God was on their side and they were working to correct injustice. Yeah. And then before the US Army went into Afghanistan and started a 20-year war that they did not win, we had a big thing at the National Cathedral, and lo and behold, God was on our side too. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? If God exists, he has a really hard time, because everybody's claiming him. Does he get to decide? Do you think God is happy with whatever people do in his name? Yeah. First commandment, thou shalt not kill. But there God is on both sides of people whose objective is to kill other of God's creations. Yeah. So this kind of system of, like I said, it helps some people, but if you really look at it critically, it doesn't make much sense. Okay. So in Buddhism, nothing is a reward, nothing is a punishment. It's simply a result. Okay? So when we get hurt, for example, yeah, that's a result of our negative karma. Does that mean we're bad people? No. We're just experiencing a result of a cause that we created, probably in a previous life where we harmed somebody else physically. Yeah. So that might have been the principal cause. Then talking about conditions, why did we get injured in this life? Why did that karma ripen now? Well, very often we do stupid things that set the stage for that kind of karma to ripen, like drinking and driving. Yeah? If you drink and drive, it's so much easier to have a car accident and get injured, isn't it? Yeah? So that becomes the cooperative condition, but the cause was harming somebody else physically in a previous life. Okay. That does not mean we're bad people. It does not mean that whoever gets injured, is bad, that they deserve it, or anything like that. They're simply experiencing result. Similarly, you commented yesterday about how privileged we are in this country. I mean, do you ever get up in the morning and wonder if you're going to have food to eat? Or do you just assume there's going to be food there? Yeah, we just assume there's going to be food. Yeah? We don't think, oh, the refrigerator's totally empty. Yeah, and there's no food in the country because it's a drought. Yeah? No, we just assume there's going to be food there. That's incredible fortune, isn't it, when you think about it? Yeah. To be able to get up in the morning and just assume that the food that nourishes your body, that keeps you alive, is going to be there. Yeah. That food is not a reward. Yeah. But it's us having food is a result of good karma we created, probably in a previous life. Okay, what kind of good karma? Generosity. Yeah, when we're generous, generosity creates the karmic cause to have wealth. Yeah, food is incredible wealth, isn't it? We think wealth is, having a Lamborghini or, Porsche or something like that, having a yacht, having your own airplane. Yeah, isn't that all you wanted in life? Is your own jet with your name blazoned across the side of it? Yeah? Isn't that what you want from life? Yeah, with nice leather seats inside, your own television that only shows programs that talk about you and how wonderful you are. Yeah. Yeah, that has every kind of food and drink that you like and nothing that you don't like, and only filled with people who say, "You're so wonderful." Wow, that that sounds like heaven, doesn't it? You're surrounded by people who say how wonderful you are and you have everything you want, except happiness. Do you think those people who have that are happy? Why aren't they happy? Why do you say that they aren't happy?
Because they're self-centered.
Yeah. How does self-centered cause your unhappiness?
Because you're just thinking about yourself and not anyone else, maybe not even your family. It depends.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more we just go round and around about ourselves, actually, the more unhappy we become. Yeah. I'm so important. But that person didn't say good morning to me today. Why didn't they say good morning? Who do they think they are, not saying good morning to me? Yeah. I know that they don't like me. That's why they didn't say good morning. Oh, what did I do? What did I do? I'm such a bad person. They don't like me. Or what kind of idiot are they that they don't like me and don't say good morning? How can I get them to say good morning to me tomorrow? That's what I really need, is for everybody to acknowledge my existence and how wonderful I am by recognizing me every morning and saying, good morning, with a big smile, full of love. Yeah, that's what I want. And nobody gives that to me. I go to the gas station to fill up my gas tank. Nobody smiles and says, good morning, you're wonderful. What's wrong with this world? So, when we're only going round and round around me, I, my, and mine, everything gets interpreted through the eyes of me, I, my, and mine. Because that's all we think that exists and is important. Yeah? But the more we interpret everything in the world through me, I, my, and mine, the more we see it just doesn't cut the grade, because we're so wonderful and the rest of the world does not act like that. They don't realize that. Yeah? I'm me. I am entitled to have everything I want. Why? Because I'm me. Yeah? So we don't like to say this out publicly. It doesn't sound too cool to say it to people, But is this what really goes on inside? Yeah. Yeah. Who do you think about when you wake up in the morning? Yeah? Do you think about people, the war in Sudan and people having to flee there? No. Do you think about people hungry in our own country? Yeah, migrants who have come here because they want a better life and they are prevented from working, prevented from citizenship. Do you think of them and their hunger? No. Yeah, who do we think about all day? The center of the universe, who just coincidentally, totally coincidentally, happens to be me. Isn't that strange, you know? And what's wrong with the whole world is that they don't realize I'm the center of it, and they don't do everything I think they should do. Yeah? So we have lots of advice for everybody, don't we? Yeah? Yeah, wise man over here, I'm sure. He has lots of advice. It's just bubbling forth nonsense. Yeah, I'm glad you're laughing. Yeah. Around me, people better laugh. If you cry, I'm going to push your button even more.
So you're crying and laughing.
Huh?
And so you're crying and laughing at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, I got criticized in front of the whole group. Ah! My world is crashing. Ah! Yeah. So this self-centered attitude, you know, it pretends to be our friend, but it actually makes us super sensitive to everything, because we see everything in terms of how it affects me. Yeah, how it affects me, maybe mine, the people I consider, or my relatives or my friends. That's as far as it goes, you know. But we see the world in that, you know, it's like we have this little periscope that's called me, I, my, and mine. And everything we see gets interpreted through that lens. Yeah. And then we wonder why sometimes people think we're selfish. Why would they think that? Yeah. And we wonder why sometimes people tell us we're narrow-minded. This isn't narrow-minded. I'm seeing the whole universe. Because, you know, I'm the center of it, so I see it all. Mm-hmm. So this brings some problems in our life. Yeah, and we become super sensitive to everything other people do, you know, like whether they say good morning to us or not. Yeah. You're in the lunch line and there's something you really like on the dessert table. And am I going to get there before somebody else takes it? And then the person right before you takes it. They did that deliberately. They knew that I liked that. They don't, in my opinion, they don't make very good desserts around here. But other people love the desserts, so I don't have this problem. Okay, but you guys may love the desserts, and you know, and oh, I wanted that. That was mine. I was over here, and I automatically claimed it. You know, just by thinking it's mine, it becomes mine. Like just by thinking it's declassified, it gets declassified. I'm hoping you're up with the news. You know what I'm talking about. No, our dear former president, who just got indicted for mishandling national secrets and things like this. He had top secret files and everything that was classified, that wasn't supposed to be seen by anybody who hadn't gone through the appropriate security check. But he got caught having those files and sometimes showing them to other people. And so his thing was, well, they were no longer classified. Yeah, I declassified it because every time they leave the Oval Office, they just get declassified. And that was one excuse. The second one was, you can declassify things just by thinking they're declassified. Yeah, so I'm claiming that brownie, my mind is claiming it and becomes mine just by me thinking it, the way he can declassify top secret files just by thinking about it. Is anybody here a Trump supporter? Am I offending anybody?
No, I'm joking.
No, you can be a Buddhist and be a Trump supporter. That's okay. But it's just mostly with mostly with young people. You guys, I think, often think a little bit better than adults do. Yeah, you're supposed to become wiser as an adult. I don't know. I don't know. That's another question I had when I was young. What the adults were saying didn't make any sense. Yeah? Like I said yesterday, we're going off to Vietnam to kill people so we can live in peace. Yeah, and the adults are saying that. They think I'm going to believe that. Okay, so, you do learn a lot through aging. Yeah, especially me, because I'm older, so I know more than you do. Yeah, so you should listen to me. Okay, but other old people don't listen to. Unless they agree with my ideas, then you can listen to them. But if they don't agree with my ideas, don't listen to them, okay? Yeah, you got it clear? So, this is what self-centeredness does to us. Everything is just about ourselves, yeah. And that actually, like I said, it makes us so much more sensitive to whatever is going on around us, because we interpret it all in the perspective of me. What do other people think about me? Okay, and then we become very conscious about our appearance. We become self-conscious about everything, your music ability, your artistic ability, your athletic ability, everything. We want to be best. Yeah, because if I'm known as best, then I'm a good person. Huh? Yeah. But best is difficult, isn't it? Only one person can be best. So if we live in a society where we have to be best, and only one person in every single field is best, yeah, there's only one, first place gold medal in each Olympic thing, yeah, if only one person is that, then everybody else is a failure. So you get a bronze medal, you get a silver medal, you're a failure. You didn't get the gold. Yeah. But you get the gold, and you at first you're so excited, and you have this piece of metal. Look, this means I'm the best. Yeah, doesn't it? Look, it says number 1 in telling people off. That's my specialty. The world recognizes it. I can tell people off better than anybody else. I'm best. Yeah. But the problem with being best is that then you have to keep being best. Yeah. So once you got that, how are you going to keep it up? Yeah. Especially, if it's athletics, your best. Is your body getting younger and more flexible? No, it's getting older and more worn down. How are you going to maintain that? Yeah, you can. So you retire before you have to compete and lose. Because that way you can remain best in the eyes of history, even though you are really no longer best. Okay. Does best make you happy? Yeah. Huh?
Temporarily.
Yeah, temporarily, but not forever. Yeah. You win a contest or whatever, you're best, then what? Yeah. So this is actually where acceptance comes in. Okay. Oh, I finally got around to it, huh? Yeah, I've been waiting for her to get to that topic. Yeah, and she's going on around about, karma and rebirth, and, I want to hear about acceptance. Okay, so we're at acceptance. We only have 13 minutes for it. So, no. Okay, so acceptance. Okay, I got to tell you what acceptance doesn't mean first, okay? It doesn't mean being a defeatist. Yeah, a defeatist, like thinking you can never do that. It's hopeless. Yeah, okay? You didn't win the, you're not, what's his last name, Phelps? What was his first name? Michael Phelps. You're not Michael Phelps. Yeah, you're the other medal winner. The one that was caught. Yeah. What was he doing?
Something in Rio. What was he doing?
Yeah.
He lied about being
tipsy. Yeah, robbed. It was robbed. Yeah.
About what?
He lied about being robbed.
A lot. Okay. Yeah.
I think he also failed the drug test.
Yeah.
He also what?
Failed the drug test. I don't know.
Yeah. And there was something about him being out at night too, or doing something. Yeah. Okay. So, so look, I mean, that's somebody who was trying to be happy. Yeah. And it didn't work. Yeah. He got a bad reputation from it. Yeah. But so it being acceptance doesn't mean, oh, I just accept I'm not Michael Phelps. It's like, why? How come I always just go in the shallow end? I'm too afraid to go in the deep end. Yeah. And that he can do all that back and forth, this stroke, that stroke. I can hang on to the edge and hope I don't sink, because I never learned how to swim. So I just accept that. Accept that. No, it doesn't mean that, okay? That it's just, I give up. Yeah, so acceptance doesn't mean you give up, okay? Acceptance means that whatever we are accepting, whatever exists at this moment, exists. Okay? We're accepting whatever that exists at this moment exists. That you might say, well, then, so, I do that anyway. No. Yeah. Yesterday we talked about setting the bar for ourselves up here. When you don't meet that bar, or maybe you don't set it for yourself, somebody else sets what they want you to become, and you don't meet that, yeah, then we say, I'm a failure. I didn't cut the grade. What's wrong with me? But, we didn't meet that standard. It has nothing to do with being a failure or inferior. Yeah, we accept that's what exists. We don't have to put a judgment on it that it means we're good or bad or somebody else is successful or not. Okay, it just is what it is. Yeah. Lots of times we get mad at reality. Okay, when you get sick, do you sometimes get mad when you're sick and you have to sit in bed and you really want to go do something fun and you're sick and you can't do it and you just get, why am I sick? Why is it me? Why can't it be somebody else? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah? Okay. Why are we unhappy? It's not that the sickness made us unhappy. It's the self-centered mind complaining that makes us unhappy. Okay, if we accept, I'm sick, this is the reality. The reality is, I'm sick. Yeah, I don't need to get mad at the world because of it. Yeah, I don't need to feel like I'm not getting my fair share of whatever. This is just what it is. Yeah, what color would you say this is? Would you say it's pink or scarlet? Shall we say it's pink? Yeah. Oh, somebody's going to say, no, it's not pink. Okay, if we just, for temporarily, we say it's pink. Yeah. But I want a green thermos. I don't want a pink thermos. Why did they give me a pink thermos instead of a green one? Don't they know that I like green thermoses better? And green thermoses make me happy. The pink just doesn't cut it. Yeah. So that's not accepting the reality that this thing is pink. Okay? Does my not accepting the reality help me at all? No. I'm miserable because I want a green thermos and I got a pink one. Yeah. If I just say, yeah, the thermos is pink, that's okay. I can still drink out of it. Yeah. Even if the thermos was broken and it didn't keep things really hot, some thermoses, they're just poor grade that, by the time you get around to drinking it, it's cold. Yeah. So somebody gave you a present, they gave you one of those thermoses. It's not only pink, but everything gets cold in it for after a half an hour. My suffering is just tremendous. Yeah. But this is what happens. We laugh at this, but look at the things that we don't accept. That we say it shouldn't be this way, it should be another way. Yeah. And we fight against the reality of what it is, even though in many, many cases, we don't have any control or any power to change it. Yeah. if we reject the reality, we're unhappy. If we accept this is what is at this very moment, then there's not that unhappiness. Yeah, the thermos is pink, but it still holds water, and I'm happy with that. Okay. So what this means in terms of us, because we talked a little bit about success and failure yesterday, it means, whatever degrees of talents and abilities and knowledge we have, we accept that because that's the reality of who we are. Yeah. We don't need to compare ourselves to other people. Yeah. And say, oh, I'm better. I have a green thermos. And we don't need to say, oh, I'm worse. They have a green thermos. Whatever our talents or abilities are, that's what they are. The point is, use them to benefit others. Use them to benefit the world in whatever big or small way we can, okay? So we don't all need to be Mother Teresa. There's only one Mother Teresa, okay? Yeah, we don't all need to be the Dalai Lama or Nelson Mandela or, any of these people. We can admire them and they may inspire us, but we, to have a meaningful life, we don't need to be famous and like this, have our qualities broadcast. Because we can do things that the famous people can't do. Okay? In your family, among your friends, when somebody gets sick, is Mother Teresa going to appear there to take care of them? No. She can't do anything to help those people. But you can, because you know them. You're their friend. You're their family member. Yeah. So the thing is to look at the talents and abilities we have and then use them. We don't have to, be best. Because best really has very little meaning. Because we, pretty soon somebody else is going to be better than us. Yeah. And then somebody else is going to be better than them. And somebody else is going to be better than them. Yeah. So what is the use of comparing ourselves to other people? Yeah. And besides, we all have different talents and abilities. Yeah. I am not best in electricity. Okay. Yeah. I think you definitely know more about it than I do. Okay. So that's good. Yeah. We depend on each other. And I'm glad people know more about certain things than I do. Huh? Okay. So when we can think like that, then the mind becomes satisfied, and then we can use whatever talents and abilities we have, with whoever happens to be in front of our face at any particular moment, and be happy that we can contribute to the welfare of somebody else in a good way. Yeah, and that brings a lot of meaning to our lives. We don't have to, be written up in Guinness Book of Records, Yeah. I mean, if you really want to, go ahead. There was somebody else, he did what planks are when you do planks. Yeah. How many planks can you do? Half of one? Maybe one? Yeah. So anyway, there's some guy did I don't know how many planks. Yeah, and he got written up in, the Guinness Book of
World records.
records. Yeah. Okay. So that's fine. That's good. Yeah. It doesn't jazz me at all. But if that's what makes somebody happy, that's okay. But, we don't have to, he's better than me, that's good. If I ever need somebody who can do a lot of planks, I can call on him. Yeah. Just like I call, when the toilet breaks, I call, Venerable Losang in the monastery is the go-to person for those kind of things. And if he isn't around, you ask Venerable Tarpa. Yeah, they're the people who know more about this. Yeah, so it's good that we are with people who are better than us and know more than us. Yeah, but we can do things that those people can't do because we are all unique and have our own talents and abilities. Yeah, so we should feel good about our good qualities. Yeah, and then use them in a beneficial way, and just stop comparing ourselves with others. Yeah. Right? Okay. Questions, comments, anything?
So how would that apply to accepting things that we have done in the past that we no longer do, but feel regret towards?
Yeah, good question. Okay. So we have to accept that we did it because we did it. And saying, no, I didn't do it, and justifying, rationalizing, all these kind of psychological things, that is what I think becomes a psychological problem when people don't want to own what they've done. And they say instead, oh, somebody else did it, or it was an accident, or blah, blah, blah. We suppress. Psychologists have all sorts of terms, suppression, repression, justification, rationalization, But we do any of those things, but in our heart, we know we did it. So who are we trying to fool by saying, no, I have no responsibility? So acceptance is the first part. And acceptance leads to what we call regret. Like you just said, I did that, I regret it. Yeah, that was not a good thing to do. It harmed others, it harmed me. Yeah, I regret it. Okay, that kind of regret, is good because we're regretting non-virtue. Yeah, that kind of regret is not guilt. Okay, there's a big difference between guilt and regret. Okay, so the example I get to use, the stoves with the, whether they have the coils on them, those are old-fashioned, but the ones that just heat up, yeah. Okay, so it can look cold when it's still hot, and you may touch it. If you touch that thing and your hand gets burned, do you feel guilty? No. Do you feel regret? You bet. Yeah. Okay. So there you can very clearly see the difference between regret and guilt. Regret, I did something, that it would have been better not to do. Okay, what is guilt? Guilt is a very close friend of self-centered mind. Yeah, because guilt says, look what I did. Yeah, in first grade, I stole somebody else's pencil. And then I copied. I didn't know how to spell cat, and I was going to put K-A-T, but I looked and my neighbor had a C, so I put C-A-T and turned it in under my name, and I got a gold star. Yeah, so that wasn't so cool to do. I feel really guilty about that. You know, I stole their answer and then I lied. You know. The teacher said, is this your paper? Oh, yes, I wrote that. Well, I did write it. I put the C instead of the K. Yeah. So guilt, what is guilt? Guilt, you know, self-centered thought. Look what I did. I am so bad. How could I have done that? This was such a horrible thing to do. I don't want anybody else to know, because if people know, they'll just know that I'm thoroughly morally degraded and terrible. Nobody will ever trust me. Nobody will ever like me. Oh, this is horrible. I don't know what to do. I just feel so terrible about it. Oh my God, how could I have done that? Oh, what are people gonna think? Okay, who's the star when you feel guilty? We're the star, aren't we? Yeah? If I can't be the best one, well, by golly, I'm going to be the worst one. But I am special in some way or another. Nobody else is as bad as me. And we sit there and beat ourselves up. I'm sure you're very familiar with that mind that does that. You know? Look how terrible I am. Oh, I can't forgive myself. Nobody else will forgive me. I don't want anybody else to know. You know, anyway, it wasn't really my fault. But this world's so unfair, you know. If I tell anybody that was, yeah. Okay. So one time in a retreat, because there's certain religions that have more guilt than others, okay? And so we had a little contest one time at a retreat about the Catholics were in one group, the Jews were in another group, and the Protestants were in the third group. And we talked about guilt. Yeah. And guess who won?
Catholics.
The Catholics? You and I know that's not true. It's the Jews who had more guilt. But I think the people who said Catholic were Catholics. How many of you grew up Catholic? Okay, 3 of you. How many grew up Jewish? Half. Okay, yeah. Okay, we'll count you. Yeah. How many of you grew up Protestant? How many of you grew up nothing? What about you?
I grew up Buddhist.
Oh, you grew up Buddhist?
Yeah, my uncle was. So he brought Buddhism.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah? But yeah, so it's so interesting because we, in many ways, are taught to feel guilty. Yeah, as if the guiltier we felt, the more we are purifying whatever negative action we did. Yeah? So the more you go, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, the more you're purifying. No. Yeah. When you just sit there and beat yourself up, you're not purifying. You're making yourself miserable. Yeah. So the idea is, okay, in Buddhism, we have this thing called the four opponent powers. And they are ways that we purify whatever negative actions that we've done. So I want to pause now, yeah, because we need to have a break. And then we'll have a discussion, and then tomorrow. Yeah, can you hold your guilt for till tomorrow? Yeah. Don't let him forget it. Don't let him lose it. Yeah. Remind him of how guilty he is. Yeah. And yeah, then we'll talk about the purification practice. Okay. Yeah, because this is something very important, in our spiritual practice. Because I think as if we beat ourselves up, and especially, okay, here's another difference between a theistic religion and Buddhism. In Buddhism, yes, we come in with our previous karma, which means our negative karma as well as our virtuous karma. Okay? We accept that. Yeah. But that is very different than original sin. Okay? When you're taught original sin as a kid, then you kind of grow up thinking something is inherently wrong with me. Yeah? Is that the effect that it had on you? No, I was born a sinner. So something was just wrong with me. Buddhism doesn't have that approach at all. Okay? We come in with negative karma, but they say the one good quality of negative actions is that they can be purified. Yeah. In other words, we don't have to carry all of that around our whole lifetime. We can do something about it.